Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. We have a great guest today, Christine Bearse. She, also known as the Goal Whisperer, she's a life coach and hypnotherapist living south of Boston with her two teenage sons and a cat named the Catalyst. Her dream is to someday perform in a rock band. She is joining us from Hanson, Massachusetts. Welcome, Christine. It is a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you, Irina. I am so honored to be on your podcast. Thanks for asking me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So please share with us your story.
Oh, well.
Did you become a single parent by choice or by accident?
Well, it was by choice. And as most of my life has been built on my choices, I guess this divorce was a little bit easier because I had two divorces prior to this. But this was obviously the more challenging one because now I had children with my ex. And I just decided that I wasn't getting the support I wanted. I was the one being supportive, right? And I tried to work on the marriage for years and years and years, and felt that maybe my energy was being wasted. So perhaps we'd be better off separate. And I have to say, I would never look back. What my children have now is a happy, I've just blossomed. I've become the person that I always thought I could be. I spent a lot of time working on myself in these past 3.5 years. But I have to say that it's because of the fact that I planned out a successful divorce. It was, my motto was to be fair and not take more than I deserved or more than I didn't take just because I felt entitled to take. And I had a lot of faith in myself that I could make this work and that I could also provide an excellent upbringing for my children. And by being fair, my ex was also fair. And one thing that, sticks out in my mind is when you're going through a divorce, to listen to your conscience and not your lawyers. Because the lawyers are, they're looking out for you, right? Your best interest. We went through a mediator because, again, I wanted to be fair. And once we came up with the agreement, I knew that my ex was, money was very important to him. We met later in life. He was established, had great, saved his money. He was, had properties. He was, well off when I met him. And I really came in with very little. I had actually gone through a very bad marriage where I gave up a lot to this person, and he was very abusive. And luckily I was able to get out very relatively quickly and and move on. And when we got divorced, I didn't take his retirement. I didn't take things that he had earned. And I just asked for simple things like, help get me set up, in a house, and I'll take it from there, And I think that showing him respect, he shows me respect. The other thing I would say is if it's possible, if you can co-parent and have a split custody, I think the children benefit from that. I believe that they get things from me and they get things from him, and they're boys, so I want them to learn how to be men, and I can't teach them that. I can teach them how to be a good person and how to treat women, and which was another reason why I felt I needed to leave, because I just didn't want my boys growing up thinking that they that this was how you should treat a woman. And it wasn't, and I don't want to say a lot of bad things about my ex because it just didn't work for us. That's all. We're just, very, very different people. And he's a good person. And I just I didn't want to play the victim. And I wanted them to see what a strong woman can accomplish. And now the respect that I have from them is absolutely amazing. When I thought for sure they were going to side with their father. I've seen it happen before. But that's because I did a lot of things very, I would say calculated, but very thoughtfully. I didn't start dating at all for like the first year and a half. I then tried online dating, didn't work for me, but I only did that when the kids were with their dad. So they didn't, know, what was going on. I didn't bring, people into their lives. And every time I dated somebody, and the top of my mind was, is this somebody that I would want to help raise my children? And the answer, unfortunately, was no. But I mean, I know people have had great success with online dating. And that's actually how I met, my ex before it was cool, like 18 years ago when somebody said, where'd you meet? And you had to say online. But now I just want to give it all to my children. My ex had decided to get into a relationship, and that's his prerogative, and it just isn't for me. I think it's important also to check in with your kids. What's going on? What's going good? What's going not so good? What are you struggling with? Because they'll tell you if you build a really good, trusting relationship with them. My children know they can talk to me about anything. And when they come up with something that's bothering them, I may think it's stupid, right? And I've lived all these years and that seems small and petty, but to them, it's very, very important. And I show them that I'm listening and I will talk through it with them. And if I need to make a change, I make a change. And if it's something that I need to speak to my ex about because it's happening on that side, then I choose my words. I don't accuse. I just say, hey, I was talking to the kids and then this came up and maybe you didn't realize it. Keeping emotion out of it. I've made my mistakes. I've absolutely made my mistakes. And I have flown off the handle at times. But one thing about me, I've been in recovery for 23 years. So I quit drinking before I had my kids. One thing that, the fellowship of AA had taught me was that you always have to apologize and clean your side of the street. So when I would blow up, I would always make sure that I followed up with an apology. I got emotional because, it has to do with the kids. And usually he's like, oh yeah, well, I didn't even notice. But I've seen people make mistakes with these long text messages and, how they feel and how upset they are and what a jerk you are. And text messages should be short. They should be, hey, I'm going to pick the kids up at 2. They should just keep the emotion out of the text messages. Just state the facts and just, live and let live. Things are going to be different. I felt like when this happened, giving split custody, I was going to lose so much control. And you know what I did? I lost some control. And you know what? That's okay. Because I check in with my kids. I know what's going on. And the only time I step in is when I feel like my kids are in danger. And I had thought at one point maybe that was the case. And I did step in and my kids respected me for that. And then it all sorted out and everything was fine and there was no danger. And have faith, maybe in a higher power, in whatever your spiritual, the universe, but also have faith in your ex. He's the father or mother, of your child, and hopefully they're always looking out for them as much as you are. I try to see both sides of things. I have my opinions, right? But I think they've been a blessing and a curse. I can always see the other side of an argument. I can always see where's that other person coming from, what's going on externally, internally with that person that's causing them to act like this, and how can I reassure them? How can I, have sympathy or compassion for them? And that's I think that's a real strength that I've worked on. And I have a couple notes here because I get so off topic sometimes.
So did everything work out smoothly? Were there any struggles you faced when you became by yourself?
Guilt, huge guilt. I waited a long time to have these children, and here I now only had them 50% of the time. And the guilt that, I mean, if anybody's seen The Parent Trap, right? Everybody knows all children want is for their parents to be together, no matter what. And the guilt that I made the decision to leave, that I brought this onto the family, onto my children, was tremendous. And when I didn't have my children, I was so angry with myself. This is what, this isn't what I wanted for them. I tried to stay in the marriage as long as I possibly could. And finally, I had to stop, right? I had to stop with these guilty feelings and say, you know what, when I have my kids, I'm with my kids. I am completely present with my kids. And that is the absolute best I can do. As long as I'm doing my best, that's nothing to feel bad about. So many people are divorced. They have friends that are parents are divorced. They're not the only ones out there. People go through it all the time. And I started using this free time to just work on myself. So I started going to school. And I just started to try to make my surroundings beautiful. Had a huge deck patio project that I worked on. I used that time productively to just keep becoming a better and better person. So now I don't feel guilty anymore. I feel lucky that I have this 50% of my time is for me, and I don't feel selfish anymore. It's all how you look at it, right? And the other thing that I struggled with is, what if I lose my job? And then I lose, my house. And then, I don't have anybody to fall back on anymore. It's just me. That's scary. It's really scary. But I also have to, whenever I feel that way, I have to go back to my faith that the universe wants really awesome things for me. And I know that because I keep getting these, unsolicited gifts. Things just keep coming to me because I'm open to miracles. I'm open to magic. I'm open to, accepting these gifts. So yeah, they absolutely went through some struggles. Also loneliness. Especially when my ex, got into a relationship. Well, geez, now I'm home alone, and I just had to turn more into trying to better myself, trying to find ways to occupy myself. I have awesome friends. I'm only friends with people now that fill me up. If they like to play the victim card, if they just always see the downside of everything, then I don't choose to hang around with those people. But I hang around with some strong women that that just lift me up, and I learn from them. We go out and we have, a great time. I don't drink. So a lot of the times when I was in my marriage, my ex had a lot of friends, and they were just, they drank, they were partiers, and they weren't my tribe. But now I have friends that drink, but they choose not to drink around me because they don't have to drink. Right. And I've weeded out the people that have to drink to have a good time. sure, I can be around people that drink, but you know what? I choose not to be. I like to be I like to be around people who are emotionally available to me. And when people start drinking or, taking substances, it's, it's there, it's different. I like to really have deep conversations. You can't really have these deep conversations, maybe unless they're smoking a little weed, then the conversations can get really deep. I remember those days. But also, not drinking has been my superpower for my children because the day doesn't end at 5 o'clock when after dinner, they're not, they need emotional support. And for me to not be checked out every night is another thing that I feel is a gift I'm giving my children, that they know, and they know if they needed a ride at 10 o'clock at night, I can drive because I haven't, been drinking, and
Right.
I'm just always there for them. And in a good balance, I'm not overly there for them, and now as they're getting older, I'm able to give them space. My son has just started dating. He's 16. He just started dating, and I'm so proud of the boyfriend that he is. It just lights me up to just see how, how beautiful this relationship has become. So I could
That's
go on.
beautiful. If you could go back in time, would you do anything differently?
I wouldn't, because I chose my husband, right? Because I was at a point where, like I said, I had just gotten out of a domestic violence situation. I had written a pretty good list of what I was looking for in somebody, and the universe went, here you go, like within a month, and sent me him. So the one thing I didn't put on the list is that I wanted somebody who was like really caring and loving. I don't know why I left that off. I guess I just assumed that, you would know. But um, I chose him to be the father of my children, and I had planned on having children by myself at this point. I had said, I'm getting older, and the clock's ticking. I'm going to do this. But my brother had said to me, you know what? I understand you could do that. You're a strong woman. And he said, but you know what? Why don't you take your own advice? And I'm like, okay, what's that? And he said, why don't you pray about it and give it a year and see what happens? And I'm like, oh, got to take my own advice, right? So even though I was ready to go, I had already called the IVF clinic and all that. I took a step back. I prayed about it. And within a year, I was pregnant. I had met John. I told him straight out, I'm having children. You can come along for the ride. You don't have to, but I'm having a child. And so I chose him for that. That was why I chose him. I'm sorry, it's not a romantic story. And we were partners. We were like business partners raising children, and we did a fantastic job together until it just wasn't working anymore. And I wouldn't take that back, because we have two amazing children, and like I said, also built a really nice divorce so that we respect each other.
Good, good. What do you think is the most important trait to instill in a child?
I would say honesty, uh, and self-confidence. Self-confidence. I didn't have it as a child, and not false self-confidence, but confidence in the fact that they can work hard to achieve what they want. That to have faith in their ability to learn more, to work harder, to not expect that if you have given a talent. I have a very musical son. He's given great musical gifts, but not to just sit there and think that that's it. No, you have to keep practicing. You have to keep working harder and exploring. And those were things I didn't know as a child. I did know about hard work. Trust me, I was raised in a family. It was all about hard work, but I didn't have confidence. So I don't yell at my kids. And I did when I was married because I was resentful. My ex, I didn't think things were going the way I wanted them to go. I mean, when you get into that dark place of, that person's just always wrong. And I had a lot of resentments I didn't realize, and I took it out on the kids. And now I'm patient. Now I don't, I mean, I might yell at them if they don't, they're not getting out the door for school at the right time, but there's no need. There's just no need to, I just I can't do that. It's hurtful. It hurts. And what does that cause? It causes children who yell back and rebel. And I saw it in myself as the way I was brought up.
Yeah. Yeah. You're so right. What kind of advice would you give to present single parents who are just stepping onto the journey of single parenting?
Try to see both sides, your side, his side, have compassion, just give up a little control. But absolutely, number one, put your kids first, because you're never going to get this time back, ever. And what you do now, they're watching, and it's going to be part of who they become as a person. And what kind of person do you want them to be?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Oftentimes we are so involved in our own emotions that we don't see what's happening, because it hurts and it's painful, and we get triggered and we get zoomed in on that thing.
Absolutely.
Instead of stepping out a little bit and maybe taking a pause or a breather before we make a different decision or suggestion. And
Sleep on it. Sleep on it. That is, I gotta say, probably my number one bit of advice. Okay, write that text message or email, but then sleep on it. If it's charged, if it's emotionally charged, sleep on it. And then you'll wake up in the morning and maybe you pull out some of that. And maybe you do just go to the one sentence. I'm picking the kids up at 2.
Nice, nice. What kind of your number one self-care routine? How do you keep yourself, happy, energized, and beaming with life?
It's the people I surround myself with. Absolutely. I mean, besides the fact, obviously, I have the beautiful fellowship of AA, which I've learned lifelong lessons from. But I like I said, I only hang out with people who lift me up. I hang around with other coaches, other people that I went out to the super coach, which was a place for me to meet like-minded people and get excited about my business again, and to see other people, what they're having the same struggles I am, and we're all going to get through this, and we get through it better together. And I'd say my other self-care is doing some meditation, being mindful.
How did you discover coaching?
So I used to run my own business years ago. I was a virtual assistant. So I was a virtual assistant, and coaching seem to go hand in hand, right? Because coaches are always recommending you should get a virtual assistant. And so most coaches have a virtual assistant. So I started being a virtual assistant for some different coaches. And then this was back when I was married and in the got to make this work. And I was a mess. And I hired a coach, and it was expensive, but it was an investment in myself. And I did the work. I'm one of those people that needs to be held accountable. So I would tell her what I'm going to do, and then I had to do it because I told somebody I was going to do it. But when I decided that, wow, this is kind of what I do with people anyways, like in my virtual assistant business, I was always helping people to start their businesses and things like that. I've always been a very good listener because I was such a shy child that I would just watch people, and I just learned so much about human nature and why people said things that they said. And so anyways, I decided to take a coaching program and through International Coaching Federation and get my certification. And what I learned was just absolutely, a coach is not a consultant. A coach is not a therapist. A coach is, not a mentor. Coach is somebody who takes your ideas and helps you round them out, helps you to achieve them. And I don't have to give advice. Like everybody is whole. They have everything they need. I just help bring that out to the surface so they can see it. And then maybe try to dispel some of the old stories in their heads that you may have been programmed with as a child or as an adult, a young adult. And a lot of them are lies. And we try to look at them and what's fact and what's real. And, yeah, lights me up, just absolutely lights me up to watch people make these huge changes. And then with hypnotherapy added in now, it's supercharged. Like the changes that would take months, I can do, some of these things in an hour, and it's accelerated. So I think it's a really good, it's a really good balance.
What would you say somebody who is on the fence about hiring a coach?
It's an investment. It's an investment, and it's going to hurt because it's, if you find a coach that you like, maybe you can negotiate, to, what your budget is. And there's lots and lots and lots of coaches out there at all different price levels. And I'm going to tell you, price doesn't always mean that, a coach that charges, $400 an hour is better than a coach that charges less. Like, I don't charge anything like that. And I think I'm a pretty good coach.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
Oh, I think you've asked it all, but I did want to put out there to your listeners that I offer free hypnosis sessions for people going through divorce. It's just a great way to tap into your subconscious and help maybe stop some of that emotion, maybe to help you think a little more rationally and think about your kids first instead of how angry or hurt or lonely that you are. It can be very, very helpful. And I'd love to give that as a gift to anybody going through what I've already been through.
Thank you. That's a beautiful gift. Thank you so much. If people would like to learn more about you, where would they go?
So you can find me on Facebook at The Goal Whisperer. You can also find me at my website, thegoalwhisperer.com. Those are the two best places.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll include everything in episode notes. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story and your wisdom and your successful divorce and an amazing relationship that you now have. And your children are thriving. That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.